A store clerk is playing games on his phone when four men walk in and just begin taking things. He tries telling them to pay, but ends up getting a nasty punch to the face. One gangster pulls a knife, threatening the clerk to open the register, but there isn't much cash, as most customers use their cards to pay when shopping. The gangster takes the little cash and then demands that the clerk open the safe that is behind him. Suddenly a young woman steps up to the register, clearly ignoring the robbery in progress. She tries paying for her item with a large bill, but there isn't any change for her. She then calmly takes change from a robber's bag, but the men have had enough and hold a knife to her neck. Instantly, the woman begins taking out the goons, using a can of pineapples as her only defense. One by one the gangsters are brutally taken down till they all lie groaning at her feet. She then calmly tells the frightened clerk that she will pay for the pineapples as well, which has 2 knives stuck in it. The woman, Ok-ju, a former bodyguard, lives a very solitary and secluded life alone. One night, she gets a phone call from her longtime friend Minhee, who has been away performing as a ballerina. Minhee sounds very nervous and worried, and asks Ok-ju to come look for her. Sensing that something is wrong, Ok-ju jumps on her motorcycle to head over to her friend, and decides to stop by a corner store to grab some drinks for them both. She takes the elevator up to Minhee's apartment and rings the doorbell, but gets no response. She calls for her friend, but still hearing no one, she decides to let herself in, knowing the code to the apartment. She steps into the colorful apartment and heads to Minhee's bedroom, where she sees a package wrapped in a bow on the bed. She opens it to find 2 ballerina shoes and a note from Minhee begging Ok-ju to get revenge for her. Ok-ju starts searching the apartment for Minhee and then tries calling her phone, when she hears the phone ringing from the bathroom. She opens the bathroom to see the phone ringing, but is also greeted by the gruesome sight of her best friend dead in the bathtub, having bled out, and a knife laying beside her. Ok-ju stares in shock, and the pain shows on her face even though she tries hard to fight her emotions. She remembers the first time she met Minhee while she was still a bodyguard. Minhee was running a cake shop and Ok-ju had stopped by to grab a cake. Minhee thinks that it must be for a boyfriend or a best friend, but it turns out to be for Ok-ju herself, as it is her birthday. It was then that Minhee revealed that they were actually classmates in high school. The two went out for dinner, and from there on they had formed a very strong bond. Ok-ju looks over the note that Minhee had left for her, and decides that she must fulfill her best friend's last wishes. The note indicates that someone known as Chef Choi is responsible for her death, and Ok-ju begins researching the name. She finds a profile on a social media platform run by Chef Choi, who sells sushi meals as a front for selling drugs, and decides to place an order. After a while, the account responds, only accepting payment in Bitcoin. It asks her how many soy sauce packets she wants, but when she replies saying only 1, the account logs off from the chat. Another flashback shows how Minhee had gradually begun to pull Ok-ju out of her shell, taking funny pics together, exploring and sharing special moments in their lives. Ok-ju came to realize that she became very cold and distant, and even entertained the thoughts of losing her life on her job and not caring, but upon meeting Minhee, she came to realize that life could be fun. Ok-ju is at home when she hears Minhee's phone ringing. She answers but says nothing, and on the line, a man threatens to expose her and destroy her reputation and life if she does not meet him at a bridge at 2 a.m. that night. At the bridge, a nice-looking car pulls up to 2 men, and a long-haired man steps out and hands off a few packages. Ok-ju is surveying the scene a distance off and sees the deals go down. Minhee's phone starts to ring again, and Ok-ju realizes that the long-haired man is the one calling. Ok-ju decides to follow the man's car and see him drive onto a massive compound with large gates. Ok-ju continues on foot to see the massive house, but decides to leave. The next morning, the man, Choi, is displaying an amazing feat of strength and body control, indicating that he is more than what meets the eye. Choi leaves his compound with a nice-looking Lambo, unknowingly speeding past Ok-ju, who had camped out at the gates the entire night. She uses her tools to break into his home and implants a listening device in his office. She continues looking around and searching through Choi's things, hoping to find something on him. She finds a locked closet, but when she manages to open it, she is greeted with a wide array of hormone toys and demonetizing tools. In a drawer, she is shocked to see numerous flash drives all labeled with different women's names, including one labeled ballerina. Ok-ju plays the video on her cell, and sees Minhee drugged and passed out on a bed, with Choi in a mask kneeling over her. Ok-ju then realizes that Minhee was being blackmailed with this video, and fearing that she would be exposed to her friends and family, she ended her own life. This pushes Ok-ju over the edge emotionally, but after releasing her pent-up emotions, she starts to focus on the mission ahead. Ok-ju begins listening in on Choi's conversations from his office and hears him planning with another man to head over to a club where he could pick up more girls to have fun with. Ok-ju devises a plan and goes to Minhee's closet to find a nice dress. Later, she turns up at the same bar where Choi is partying and spots him in the VIP section. She goes looking for him but he ends up finding her, mistaking her for another girl that he knows. Ok-ju uses the opportunity to offer to buy Choi drinks and soon they are heading back to his place in his nice car. Ok-ju thinks that Choi is taking her home, but Choi reveals that he is taking her to an off-the-grid hotel, where he promises that they will have fun. The two arrive at the hotel where Choi is greeted by a man at the front desk, whom Ok-ju finds suspicious but goes along with the plan in order to achieve her plan. Choi leads Ok-ju to a room and offers her a drink. Ok-ju drinks and pretends to pass out while Choi puts on a mask and prepares to take advantage of her. He pulls out a camera and begins to tape Ok-ju and begins touching her, when Ok-ju suddenly attacks, but Choi has grabbed the blade. She tries to take his life, but Choi evades her strikes and manages to knock her over the head. The two begin to trade swift blows, striking and evading but Ok-ju manages to grab him and try impaling him, but Choi manages to break free. Choi grabs a lamp to attack, but Ok-ju evades and with impressive moves she throws Choi and manages to stab him in the face and rip his face open. As she goes to finish him off, the front desk guy bursts in with a shotgun. An injured Ok-ju manages to hide and escape the room but then comes face to face with another man wielding a chainsaw. The man rushes at her but someone swings open a door, knocking him down and causing him to cut off his own leg. The person is a girl named Moon and she grabs Ok-ju and escapes, steals Choi's Lambo and sets off. After the attack, Choi goes through surgery and soon wakes up in the hospital surrounded by gang members and it turns out Choi is one of them. Their boss thinks Choi looks more like a man with his scar as he was too pretty before. It turns out that Choi is their best fighter, however he has been doing his own things separate from the gang which resulted in him being able to afford a Lambo, which his boss had no idea about. The boss had instructed Choi to manage the girls on behalf of the gang, but he started using them to make his own money. Choi promises to make things right with the gang, but the boss grabs his face, and warns him to bring him Ok-ju in 3 days. Ok-ju and Moon stop to get some food where Moon explains that she was a prisoner of Choi and there are other young girls which he blackmails and uses to make explicit videos. Moon wants Ok-ju's help to get her own revenge on Choi, and they two come up with a plan. Choi goes by a local pharmacy, which is a front for his drug operation being run by his friend Moon. Choi is angry that Ok-ju took his face and his Lambo and suggests that Moon carry out a hit on her. Moon initially refuses, citing that he is just a pharmacist, but when Choi offers him 100 million won, he sees the opportunity of a lifetime. Ok-ju goes by the shooting range of her former employers, and requests weapons and equipment. She explains to her former boss what happened to Minhee and explains that this is something that she needs to personally do. Her former boss then gets her in contact with some gun smugglers, who turn out to be an old couple with an even older collection of guns. Ok-ju disappointedly rifles through the old rusted guns, some of which can't even be loaded, until she stumbles upon a small handheld gun, thinking it's a toy. The old man explains how useful a small gun like that can be in a sticky situation. They ask what she will be using the gun for and when Ok-ju replies that she will be hunting, the old woman reveals a flamethrower that shoots a massive flame. Ok-ju purchases a few guns and she and Moon get a place to stay and plan their revenge. Moon wants to learn to shoot so she can help, but Ok-ju refuses and sends her to bed. Ok-ju goes out to pick up some snacks and returns home but Moon is missing. Ok-ju thinks nothing of it when suddenly she is attacked by both Choi and Moon, but manages to evade and escape through the window. Being more than 3 days, Choi lies to his boss that he killed Ok-ju and buried her in the mountains but the boss is angry that he disobeyed orders. It turns out that Moon is being held captive by the gang and seeing that he supposedly killed Ok-ju, his boss orders him to take care of Moon. That night at the boss's stable, Choi and Moon hold Moon hostage, ordering her to tell them where Ok-ju is. Moon refuses to say and stares at him defiantly, causing Choi to pick up a horse whip, telling her to prepare herself. Later, the former front desk clerk and chainsaw man are in the surveillance room. Desk clerk steps out of the room when suddenly there is a thud. Chainsaw man checks the cameras only to see desk clerk laying dead on the ground. He grabs an axe and his crutch and is about to step out when Ok-ju ambushes him and holds him at gunpoint. She gets him to tell her where Moon is being held, before blowing his brains out. Ok-ju then arms herself to the teeth, before walking boldly into the horse stables. There is no sign of Choi or Moon, but only Moon's shirt lying in the dirt. Ok-ju boards an elevator with 3 gangsters, but soon they all lay dead at her feet. She gets to a room where a large number of people are cultivating some sort of plants. Ok-ju gets their attention, then orders the entire room to tell her where Moon is being held and she will let them live. The boss then steps out, realizing that Choi had lied to him. He invites her to sit and talk with him, but as he continues yapping, Ok-ju puts a bullet through his head. She turns again to the room to answer but all the men just stare at her. She then decides to kill them all but the gun has a malfunction. The gangsters see their chance and try attacking her with weapons, but Ok-ju pulls out another gun and begins to cut down the men. With quick reflexes, She avoids their strikes and kills a few until she is disarmed. She leads them into a narrow area, and despite taking some powerful hits, she manages to evade and take down the men attacking. She gets her gun and manages to reload, cutting down the men to the very last. She holds a gun to his head demanding to know where Choi is. The man refuses to say, so Ok-ju brutally stuffs broken glass into his mouth before punching his jaw in. Ok-ju goes looking for Choi and stumbles upon Moon driving a cart, and in the back, Moon lay unconscious. Ok-ju prepares to shoot Moon, when she is suddenly shot in the arm and falls. It is Choi who turns up with a shotgun. Moon is relieved and tells Choi to send the 100 million and he will clean up this entire mess, but Choi shoots him dead. He goes looking for Ok-ju, but Moon shoots at him with Ok-ju's gun but misses. Choi turns to her, but Ok-ju shoots him, dropping him. The two bring the injured Choi to a beach, then pull out the flamethrower. Choi cries, having no idea why Ok-ju is even hunting him and who she really is, but Ok-ju tells him she is the ballerina before stepping the flamethrower to her back. Choi offers her all his money and possessions but Ok-ju busts his mouth. Choi finally loses it, laughing loudly and warning that he will find Minhee in hell and hurt her again, but Ok-ju tells him she will be there after him soon, before burning him alive with a flamethrower. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.